Welcome to the FARcast here at Chadron State College. I'm Daniel Binkard with my co-host Alex Helmbrecht, and we're here today talking to Todd Baumann, our maintenance manager here at CSC. And Todd, well, you've been a familiar face here at the college for quite a long time. Can you tell us how long have you worked here, number one, and what are your duties as the maintenance manager?
Well, I think coming July 6th, I'll be starting in my 21st year here at Chadron State. Maintenance manager duties. Wow, where do you start?
Is it just a sheet that says other duties as assigned, and that's that?
That pretty much, yeah.
The job description.
Anywhere from calling for your services on your elevators, overseeing the boiler house, taking care of the fleet cars up there, distributing out the work orders, determining what can be done, what can't be done, roof repairs. I mean, it's just, like you said, the late night phone calls. I got one the other night at about midnight, and it was from the boiler house, and I thought, oh my God, it snowed. And I didn't think it was supposed to, because I always get a call at 4 a.m. for snow removal. And it was actually midnight, and we had a ballast burning up over in high rise and smelled smoke. So it can be about anything, really.
Oh, yeah.
What's the shift like? Because you just said you got to call at midnight, you get calls at 4 a.m. And knowing working with you, because I send out the snow announcements and different things like that, it doesn't seem like there's it's not an 8 to 5.
Well, generally, majority of the time, there is. I mean, it's a 7:30 to 4:30 with an hour for lunch, which isn't, but again, during the wintertime with the grounds crew, I usually get up about 3:30 and then kind of determine, and the boiler house will call, which also helps make sure I get out of bed to make the determination. We call, show up at 4:30, and, if it's bad, usually by 6 o'clock, I'm in conference with somebody, whether it be Harry, the director of facilities, or President Ryan, or whatever. What do we think? How do we look? And that type of stuff, and then make a determination, which leads back to you there,
Yeah.
Alex.
One of Todd's best duties is if there's an electrical outage in the substation over there on the west side of campus. If Alex gets too close to it, Todd tells him to back up, which has happened a couple times.
Well, and like that, when you talk about stuff that's out of the blue, when we had that 8-hour power outage, and of course everybody thinks in a normal house the power comes back on and everything's kind of normal. Around here, you got to go around to the mechanical rooms, make sure pumps start back up and all that kind of stuff. If you get super bad cold, and the circulating pumps don't start back up in high rise, you can start to freeze all that heating water, and so, yeah, or if you get what they call a brownout, where it just kind of phases in and out, it'll take motors out and stuff too if they don't have the proper protection on them. So
yeah,
it can be a real mess.
Yeah, no doubt. So Todd, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? Where'd you go to college? Stuff like that.
Well, born and raised here in Chadron. Graduated high school here in 1987. Came to Chadron State for a couple years. Went to the University of Nebraska for a year, and then came back here for a little bit, and then kind of got sidetracked. I originally wanted to be like a forest ranger with the U.S. Forest Service. And back in those days, and kind of some discussions, I was probably, in what I wanted to go into, I was looking at a master's, or if not a doctorate, and that just doesn't quite mix with me. So that was kind of where I veered and went a different direction, and I don't know, did a bunch of various different jobs. Used to drill irrigation wells, and came up here, and then I was a farm equipment mechanic and ran the service department for Modern Farm when I was here in Chadron, and it was a good job, but just never home enough. And my wife said, it's time to find something where you can be home a little more. She said, at that time, just find something with insurance. And I ended up here as a groundskeeper, and I never kind of figured staying on that long when I showed up, but sure have, and enjoyed it. So I don't really plan on going anywhere if I don't have to.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So you've obviously seen a lot of changes over the years here at the college. Can you tell us what kind of stands out to you for major changes, or the way we work on things and that kind of thing?
Well, maintenance has come so far. It's just even like our HVAC. used to be turning valves, which, like here in Kreitz Hall is a lot of the older systems. Now some of the new stuff, everything is computer controlled. So like for our HVAC techs, look at the range of experience they've got to have to be able to deal from rebuilding the old valves in the old buildings to, being able to program, and, just math and science. I will have to say that is something that's really impressive to me, because when I started classes up here in 1987, when we started to clean out some of the classrooms over there and get the furniture moved out and stuff, like where Joyce Hardy's classroom was and that, it was like deja vu, because I could walk in there and it felt like I was 19 years old again and going to class, because it kind of goes to show how badly we needed to do that building,
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see when it's done.
Yeah, that'll be fantastic. I know Daniel's got some photos, some historical photos of like the lecture halls.
Yeah, not a lot has changed.
Nothing changed in what, 40 years?
It was a time capsule. I ended up with one of the work tables as my desk right now here, and it's kind of nice to have that little piece of history.
Mm-hmm. When I started here, I think about the only thing we had for underground sprinkler was just on Dean's Green. So we've added that much,
Wow.
None of the practice fields, and we even did the underground sprinkler for the old football field before we got the turf. So, there was a lot of dragon hoses and sprinkler pipe, and, it's even the equipment that we've got. When I first started here, paper supplies, which we'd get like 3 pallets of copy paper. It used to go in the basement of admin. Well, we never had a piece of equipment heavy enough to lift the entire pallet, so you'd have to unload half the pallet, then take the Bobcat, take it over to the side of the building, and we'd slide those cases of paper down a board and then restack them on 2-wheel carts and move them to another room down the hallway. And then you'd go back and restack what you took off. Now that's over there in Burkheiser, and it's basically a hands-off type deal for us, a guy with a lift gate and a pallet jack. So, and believe me, we appreciate that too.
I bet.
All the little things, they help.
Was that because the machines room was over in
The machines room, and Cindy kind of did all your paper orders went through her, so she kept track of that. But yeah, we didn't have like the telehandler that we've got now. And
it's that's a service that I haven't thought about in probably 8 years or 9 years, ever since CSC kind of discontinued it. But you used to have to go over there, and if you needed pens or notebooks or whatever, you just get them.
Yeah, it was just like our own little Office Depot over there.
It was kind of a neat thing. But I mean, obviously, as time has moved on, it's not necessary. The thing that I always kind of associate with change is the connecting sidewalk, because you mentioned math science, is the sidewalk from the east side of the student center over to math science. When I was a student, that was just kind of grass.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, it just seems like it's part of the landscape, but it wasn't always the case.
No, to be honest with you, when I started here as a groundskeeper, that was one of my jobs while we were still watering. We had aluminum irrigation pipe, and every morning I'd go and move that, to the next section down and water, all day long there, because it wasn't real good dirt, and we'd have to water it to kind of keep it green. But that, until we quit watering every year, that was an every morning job for me when I first came here.
Yeah, underground sprinklers are nice. I hate moving. As a homeowner, I hate moving hose. Todd, now the most burning question of this entire podcast: how do you keep track of all those keys?
You're not going to believe this, but if every time I leave my office, if I don't have them on my hip, it just doesn't feel right.
A little balance issue.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I might tip over in the wind or something, but it's amazing. I've done it long enough. When people look at me and I dig through them, and it's funny because in your head what building takes what key and what you need, and I don't know how I do it. But yeah, if I'm, very rarely do I ever leave my office without them on my hip. They just doesn't feel right.
How many would you guess you have?
This is like the jelly bean counting game at the fair.
Yeah.
No cheating.
Just gotta feel.
Well,
maybe just sprinkle it under the mic.
I don't know. You look at this. There's our campus keys, and then there's the padlocks, lights, elevators, So I don't know. What would you guess I got on there? Probably 30 keys.
Oh yeah, I was
35.
Gonna say 35. Yeah.
Yeah. I keep joking, if we get many more, I'm going to need suspenders because a belt's not going to do it anymore.
I've been slowly building up to that for CSC live work. I've got like a sampling. Nothing near that many, but you just kind of get tired of having to deal with all those keys.
You do, and of course, I was here. That was another deal when we had a tour and some master keys got lost, and there were dorm masters on there, so we kind of had to take action and we ended up recoring all the dorms, and that was also Westcourt then too. So I think back then, if I remember right, I think just recoring high rise was like $11,000.
Oh,
so it's a lot of responsibility to carry them.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah, you can't take it lightly.
No. So, Todd, for some of us, me included, the maintenance building is a bit of a mystery. Can you take us behind the curtain, behind the scenes at the maintenance building, at least a little bit?
Well, we've added that web TMA, which helped a lot in keeping track of work orders, because we used to do it on a half-sheet carbon copy paper, which things got lost. And it also gives email notification when you request something, it's accepted, and when it's done. The mail service all comes out of there. That's something that has changed dramatically. 10 years ago, what we used to pick up on the mail run on campus and then deliver to the post office would be big totes every day. Now you're lucky if you fill a half a tote. But on the other hand, where the mail is slacked off, packages have really taken off. I mean, then we had where Chadron State got rid of the on-site bookstore, and that first year, that was quite a shock. When you have the schools just starting and the UPS truck backs up and dumps off 300 packages on one truck for one day, and that usually goes on for about 2 weeks. And then you also got FedEx there too, so that was kind of a shock to the system. But all of our fleet vehicles are taken care of out of there that everybody uses to take trips on campus. You've got the grounds crew, electrician, painter, plumbing, HVAC, carpentry. So, and Chadron State's really lucky because the group that we have up there is far more talented than what you would just guess as maintenance men. What they can turn their hand to is amazing at times, So we are right now with the people we have, we're able to do more than what I would think kind of a normal maintenance department can do. And I guess we're pretty lucky to have that, in my opinion, because the more what they're able to do makes my job a whole lot easier too. So,
yeah.
That's one thing that we probably struggle with here, and that's whether it's elevators or, like Johnson Controls or like our chiller. Johnson Controls, we had a guy here the other day, that absorption chiller that we use in the summer for air conditioning, they were only familiar with 2 of them in the U.S. So that's kind of a unique piece of equipment to Chadron State. Yeah. So, which it works good when it works, but a couple, summers ago, it didn't work so good, and, the problems that causes. So, no, maintenance is a interesting place, because there's, I kind of joke, half the reason I show up every day is just to see what happens next. And I have gotten some phone calls and some stuff walked through the door, and it's just like, wow, I never expected that.
I've always felt that they're really dedicated folks too. It's always nice to see them, and they're always looking happy and always want to help. And I know, was it a year ago, maybe even longer than that, Daniel? We toured Silas's yard up there.
I like to call it the boneyard. At least I think of it that way.
And just a guy like Silas, who's worked here for a really long time, knows so much institutional history.
Yeah.
Has seen, just like you, a lot of changes. It's just cool to talk to him.
Mm-hmm. And it's amazing. It is strange, because as long as I've worked here in all the buildings and that, every once in a while I still end up, on a place on this campus that I've never been before. We took some tours here, and I ended up in a mechanical room in M Hall that I kind of had an indication it was there, but I had never actually been in that room. So, you kind of get to realize just how big. It doesn't seem like we're that big when you drive by on the street, but when you really dig into it, we're really pretty a large campus.
Mm-hmm.
That's, of course, we're kind of unique too with the tunnels and some of that kind of stuff. But the tunnels aren't near as much fun as they used to be, because you could travel anywhere. But since we started with the absorption chiller and put the chilled water through the tunnels, it gets pretty tight down there in spots now.
So.
Now, Todd, you're responsible for managing the college's PPE inventory. What's that been like during the pandemic? And then has that changed your work much? Has it added a lot to it?
Not really. I'll be honest with you. I'm help manage that, but Karma Shefsik, who is a custodial leader, which when I was custodial supervisor, she took care of all of our inventory. She does an outstanding job with that. So, I help her. We bring it in, get the PPE, but she keeps like a running total. So every week I can report to John Hansen, who's head of the COVID, what we've used to date, and all that. So I have to give credit where credit's due. She helps me quite a bit with that. So
and Karma operates out of Hildreth, right?
Yes.
Which is kind of a de facto warehouse for
yes.
maintenance and custodial.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, because all the custodial supplies are stored there as well. So, she's responsible for hand towels and toilet paper and all that, and there's some of that stuff, even when I was running, it's like, there are just certain things here we never want to run out of. So she does a real good job with that.
And I'm sure one of them is toilet paper.
Exactly right.
Yeah, I remember being up there.
I never want to have to explain that.
I remember being up there for a photo shoot, and it was the room full of either paper towels or toilet paper. And I thought, yeah, you kind of do have to have that massive supply.
Yeah.
Yep.
Boy. Todd, you've kind of given us a sense of it, but I was curious if you could walk us through a normal work day for you. But I'm curious of in the before times, pre-pandemic, what was a normal day like, knowing that maybe there's not really a normal day? And then now in dealing with the pandemic, what's a normal day like? How does that compare?
Well, like before, generally you open up your office, you deal with your messages, read your email, go through the work order system, distribute out the work orders, and then between meetings and going spots on campus of what needs to be looked at or what may need to be addressed or anything. So that's kind of a standard day. Then, there's the strange things that happen, like the time the kid hooked the fire sprinkler in high rise on 5th floor and broke that. And we had water cascading down the stairwells and running outside the building. And from 5th floor all the way to the basement. And that's maintenance. In one instant, you can go from a relatively normal, peaceful day to just everything going crazy. Mm-hmm. With the
communications.
Yeah, you never know.
With the pandemic, originally it was kind of tough with us because we were putting up a lot of the plexiglass sneeze guards and, doing a lot of that. And, you're trying to go in some ways, I guess, kind of blind because you're not truly knowing where we're going or what it's leading to, It was kind of a panic deal. We wanted to open campus back up and trying to get around this area and find enough plexiglass to make sure we were covered, because when we wanted to open up in the fall, you did not want to have to explain why, we can't have a class here because, and that all went off, really, really, really well. Now it's kind of, and I don't necessarily like to say it, but it's really now that the pandemic, but it's a norm.
Right.
And that, now we could easily adapt back, but, for the maintenance part of it and that, we kind of keep track of, we work on, probably the only thing that we really have is like Eagle Ridge 3, which is our quarantine. We keep a close eye there when we can send people in and when we can't, just trying to minimize. Because, you look at like the boiler house or maintenance or whatever, if we got like a bunch of guys sick in the boiler house, I've got about 3 other guys that could fill and back up, and that. But that's our heating, that's our cooling, that's our hot water. So we've been really kind of particular about trying to protect those guys and with the maintenance. But like I said, it's work orders keep coming in, and we just it's like a normal everyday thing.
Kind of raises a question for me of, are there things that you anticipate, changes that have been made as a result of the pandemic that would remain in place once we get back to normal?
Well, I really don't know. That's a tough call. I could see some of the plastic barriers staying in place.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them come down. I don't, as far as the aesthetic value, and it takes away a personal, which I think CSC does a good job of, more of a personal feel than what you get at a lot of other schools. I think a lot of people understand that, but, I think, we'll, with our supplies and stuff like that, I think we'll probably have more and keep stuff like that on hand. I hope we never have to go through anything like this again, but I think there's a possibility that, again, something down the road will trigger something similar. And like I said, hope it doesn't, but it'd be a whole lot better we'll be better prepared now that we've been through it one time. Mm-hmm. So, but no, I mean, for us, we could revert back to what was considered norm with relative ease, I think.
Is there kind of an off season? I'm just thinking of stuff for the grounds crew and maintenance outside, like spring, summer mowing lawns, and then winter maybe shoveling and removing snow. But is it pretty steady the entire year?
It really is. And when I first came to work here, and I was running around on a mower in the summer, this place was pretty quiet and like a park. We had some small football camps and stuff like that, but as that has evolved, in a lot of ways, summer's almost busier now than what the school year is. And I think there's all the things we want to accomplish, but we continually get pinched tighter and tighter for a time span, when we can get stuff done. I mean, I look, the years when Danny Woodhead was here and, we were running for national championship, the football camps. I can remember one football camp up there on the practice field. This might be a slight exaggeration, but you could have almost walked across that whole thing on football helmets and never touched the ground.
I'm not surprised.
We had to bring in an extra reefer trailer for the cafeteria because we didn't have the storage capacity for enough food to feed all those people.
Wow.
So, and I think that one camp, if I remember right, was close to 1,200 people.
Wow. Which
most of ours now run anywhere from 300 to 500. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that was quite a shock
no doubt.
But times have changed too. You look, smaller schools are consolidating, and all that kind of stuff too. So you just don't have quite as many people doing it either. Mm-hmm. But
Daniel, Todd never mentioned one of his other unofficial duties is the campus snake wrangler.
That's right. He is.
So anyone listening to this on campus, if you see a snake, call Todd. He'll come take care of it for you.
Yep. Snakes, bats. We just have gone through and we've been doing cat trapping as well, which has actually turned out really well. I'm sure if you were around the Pack or some of those areas you saw, we've caught them alive, and we found them a really nice farm to live on south of Hay Springs. And, for the cat's sake, and that is a better situation. But, yeah, it's, we had a muskrat a year ago trying to get in Hildreth. So,
really?
Yeah, he was out there scratching on the doors and trying to get in there. Snakes, bats. I'm trying to think. Yeah, there's been all sorts of array of stuff.
Isn't that the story? One of the high-rise elevator, why it quit one summer? A snake or was it a squirrel? Some animal got stuck in some transformer.
Well, that was the transformer over by the bull snake. There was a bird's nest, and the snake was crawling up there after the bird's nest and crossed the wrong wires, and he got cooked and killed the power. And
How long ago was that? It feels like it wasn't
I would say,
only yesterday.
yeah, I'd have to say that was probably at least 7 or 8 years ago.
I think it was. That sounds right.
Yeah, that's somewhere in that
It
neighborhood.
looms larger in my memory just because that was an extended outage.
Yeah, us and that substation over there, we've done a few rounds. I was there one
Just
day.
put a dome over it.
We should, because there was the one day we had a really bad lightning storm, and it popped and threw something over there, and we were over by that, and it's like, yeah, you know when your hair kind of starts to stand up on your neck, it's like, I think it's just time to go now.
Oh, boy.
Todd, what are some things you enjoy outside of work? I know obviously you have a fondness for wild critters, but maybe talk a little bit about that.
Oh, hunting, fishing, and my wife and I, since all of our kids are kind of grown and gone now, we're actually getting to travel a little. Last year we took a trip and went over to Lander, got to see Sinks Canyon, which if you get a chance to get there, see that. But then the next day we spent an entire day in the Red Desert, southwest of Lander. And I mean, that was really, I think the whole day we only saw 3 other people, but,
Wow.
you got to see wild horses and explore. And so, we're spending some more time doing that. But yeah, hunting and fishing, hiking.
Well, there's a lot of opportunities for that around here.
Yes, there
Get
is.
all the fresh air. So, Todd, we've come to the portion of our show for some quick-hitting questions.
Okay.
First thing that comes to your mind, a favorite movie of yours?
The Mountain Men
All right.
with Charlton Heston and Brian Keith.
Okay.
It's an old one, but a goodie.
There you go.
Nice. Okay. What's a hidden talent of yours, Todd?
Oh, geez, I don't know. I don't know if I really have one.
Maybe it was collecting snakes.
It might be.
We gave it away.
No, I can't think of anything offhand.
All right. What's the best piece of advice that you received as a college student?
Something, and I've tried to tell my kids that, and of course we get a lot of work studies at work up through there, which it's a lot of fun, to watch them kind of grow and that. But I know they come to school with an idea of this is what I want to do. Now there are certain people that yes, that goes, but if you think you have an idea, don't get so concentrated on that you might miss an outstanding opportunity that's staring you right in the face that could lead you down a different path in life. And I've seen that happen, with some of our students. So, it is good to be focused in that, but, don't pass up an opportunity that might be just a thing for you.
Yeah, I think that's really great advice. Todd, what's a favorite place on campus for you?
To be honest with you, I like up around the rangeland, either in that glass bump out or, up there in the parking lot. The views are spectacular up there. When you get a good clear day, you can really see a lot of stuff.
Oh, I would agree with that.
I've gotten some good sunset shots up there, too.
Yeah,
It's new enough from a promotional standpoint. It's new enough that it's a different angle for us to use. But I've gotten some personal shots up there, too. And yeah, absolutely.
Well, and when we have guys come in early to spray weeds and, do some ice removal and that, I notice I'll get a lot of pictures on my phone early. They'll be up around there doing something and catch a good sunrise. And
You bet.
I always get some of those pictures too. So
Yeah, that area, I'm glad you mentioned that area because it seems to have become a talking point for when kind of dignitaries or lawmakers or whoever visits campus. When I take on tours, I always tell them that the range center is roughly equivalent to the 10th floor of high rise. And that just blows people away that there's that much change in terrain on our campus, but it's really unique.
it is. And it's like, if you ever watch close, when you come down from the state line, coming back from South, I mean, you can see the arena from up there.
Yeah,
And
it's so bright when the sun hits it the
is.
right way.
Yeah. And it always used to be high rise that stuck out, but this kind of dwarfs high rise from that distance when you're looking at it.
It really does.
So
I figured that when they enclosed the swimming pool, because that's got a white shell on it too, but it doesn't reflect the sun as strongly as our rangeland roof does.
Nope.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So Todd, the final question for you: what word comes to mind when you think of Chadron State?
the college itself, I think it's more like, I guess I'd say hometown.
All right.
I mean, it's a hometown feel. I mean, Chadron's not too big. You know, like I said, I tried 1 year at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln and did well there, but no one cared to know your name. Back then, in those days, the only thing you knew your name by was your Social Security number. That's all they ever asked you wherever you went. So just more of a hometown feel here, I think.
That's great.
Very good. Yeah, I'm glad we've gotten away from Social Security numbers.
Yeah, me too.
Never quite felt comfortable.
Yeah, you and me both.
Yeah.
It's amazing, though. Back then, you know, like when you went to register and stuff like that for classes, you stood in a big, long line. And everybody, I mean, it was just, and you said it out loud.
Yeah.
You know, and there was no real, it's hard to believe where the world has come to.
You were
now.
practically encouraged to carry it with
Yeah.
you. To carry your car. And now they're like, put it in a locked safe and never
Yes.
look at it again. And
Yeah, it was crazy because that's, like I said, whether it's financial aid or registering for classes or whatever, they never ask you your name. They just wanted your Social Security number.
Well, Todd, it's always a pleasure talking with you. We always get a new perspective, and we usually learn something from it, too. So I always appreciate that. Thanks again for coming on the show with us. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.